Hey, it's your girl Delisa Robinson. I'm back. Tonight we're gonna be talking about how we make deals out of no deals. Because not every time you talk to somebody, you're gonna get a deal. When you're wholesaling real estate, so I'm gonna teach you how to do some things like creatively to find you a deal. So grab your pencils and your papers because we're gonna take some notes tonight. I'm gonna teach you how guys how to turn a lost deal into money. For those of you who wholesale, you're going to find out how to turn a lost deal into money. I'm going to say it again. How to turn a lost deal into money. Money, 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 money. Y'all like that. I can sing a little bit sometimes. So we're going to get this out here into the open. Yeah, I got to be careful. I'll be dropping stuff in the wrong group. Y'all laughing. Y'all not trying to help a sister out. Y'all just laughing at me. That's all I see. Y'all be laughing at you, girl. But it's okay. And we are going to talk about tonight. We're talking about how to turn a deal that you might not think is a deal into some money. And I'm going to show you three different ways, at least three different ways. I'm going to show you how to turn a lost deal into some money. So grab your pencils and your papers. You don't need your calculators because I'm just going to give you the process. You don't need to know the math right now. We don't need to know. We don't need no stinking math calculators. That's what they say. Anyway, so grab your pens and your papers, your calculators, and remember what we do. We got rules of engagement. You have a question. If I say something you don't understand, and tonight I might just say something that you have never heard of before, especially if you've been wholesaling for a while and you just got into wholesaling. You might not have heard of some of this stuff before, but that's okay. Because if you haven't heard of it before, if I say something you don't understand, what are you supposed to do? Ask a question. Drop your questions in the comments. You're supposed to do that. And you're supposed to, if you don't understand what I'm saying, ask a question and I will answer it until you get it. Okay. Because this is something that I'm dropping $1 million worth of game to y'all for free. Okay. Giving y'all some free 99 today. So I'm going to show you guys how to get into how to turn a deal into, well, no deal. Because sometimes you'll have deals in this business. If you're wholesaling real estate, you're gonna have deals that fall apart. I told y'all yesterday, I was supposed to get $40,000 and I ended up getting four. So it happens. So we're gonna talk about that today. We're gonna talk about some other things and we're gonna get you guys back into this whole, I'm gonna show you and start teaching you guys things that are going to get you paid. Okay? All right. Do you have your pens and your papers? And please tell me if this is your first time, drop the number one. If you've been here before, drop the number two. I want to see who's here, who's not, and what we're doing. Okay. All right. If you've been here before, drop the number two. Drop a deuce, as the guys like to say. Drop a deuce. And if you haven't been here before, and it's your first time experiencing me, drop the number one. I just want to get an idea of what we're doing and how we're doing this. Okay. And then we're going to get started. So, wholesaling real estate. Wholesaling real estate is the art of flipping a contract, flipping a house without fixing up a property. So, basically, you are flipping the contract. You are just flipping paper. Okay. So, for those of you who don't understand what wholesaling real estate is, you are just flipping paper. So now what we need to do is figure, now that you flipped the paper, what if it can't be sold? What if it's a deal that just can't be sold? What do you do with it? There's a million different things you could do with it. Trust me. There's a million different ways and a million different things and 50, 11 million things and ways you can get into some money on a deal. Okay. Now, first things first, wholesaling real estate. When you flip a contract or sell your equitable interest, which is your position in a contract, that's what wholesaling is. You sell it to someone else for a profit. So if Miss Susie down the street tells me she wants to sell her house, and I say, hey, Miss Susie, I might be able to sell your house, and I know somebody who will buy it, and don't worry about them paying me because don't worry about you paying me because they'll pay me. You'll walk away with a clean whatever you want. How much do you want for your house? She said, well, I only want 75,000. I said, okay. And I go to my homeboy John. I said, John, remember you told me if some houses come up in my neighborhood, you were interested. Yes. Okay, great. I have this house down the street from me that's going for 100,000. What? Say less. I want it. Take them over to Miss Susie and say, hey, Miss Susie, John wants to view your property, walk through, see what type of work he's going to have to do on it, and then he's going to make us an offer. She goes, okay. Guess what? John says, hey, I like the house. Can I get it for 90? I say, no, because it's worth 150. So I'm giving you a discount already. He said, all right, cool. I just want to try it. I'll give you the 100. John gives me $100,000. Miss Susie gets her 75. I'm going to get the other 25 minus the closing costs because I'm paying her closing costs up to a certain point. Now, for those of you who walk through the streets with me, y'all know boot camp is getting ready to start October 13th, and I'll teach you guys how and to calculate your closing costs. And I also teach you how to negotiate it so that you can get more on the back end of it based on closing costs. So now what we're doing is this. So Miss Susie walks away with her 75,000. She moves to Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to all my Charlotte people. She moves to Charlotte, South Carolina with her 75,000 and her kids. Okay, and that's where she's going. Then John has the house. Now let's just say Miss Susie had a mortgage on this house. And the mortgage was 65,000 still remaining. But Miss Susie needed 20,000. She still needed 20,000 for her pocket. What y'all think I'm gonna do? Lower my assignment fee so she can still get that property. I'm still gonna walk away with about $15,000. That's the one thing I keep telling y'all. Stop being so stuck on these assignment fees. Stop listening to the gurus, the do-rules, and the no-rules when they tell you, oh, I make 20,000 on every deal. That's a lie. I'm gonna tell you that's a lie. Can you make 20,000 on some deals? Absolutely. You can make 50, you can make 100. Hell, you can make $1 million if you get into the right niche of, or genre, as I like to call it. You get in the right genre of real estate, you can probably make $1 million. You're not going to make $1 million on every deal. Okay. You know who's going to make $1 million on every deal? People who live in real estate agents that live in California that close multi-million-dollar properties every single month. They're going to make $1 million. You're not making $1 million. Okay. All right. Commercial people who are flipping, they're going to make $1 million. So don't get so caught up on your assignment fee. I have to make $50,000 on each house. I have to make $20,000 on each house. I might make this $10,000 on every house. Don't get so caught up in that because you're going to end up you're going to end up holding on to this and you're going to walk yourself out of a deal. All right. All right. So that's what I want y'all to know. That's number one. Now, what happens if Miss Susie owes too much? Like, say she upside down on the mortgage, or Miss Susie says, you know what, I still owe a mortgage. I know I'm not going to make much money off of this. I know it's not worth much because I haven't fixed it up lately. So what you're going to do is this. Well, you know, Miss Susie, I could probably still sell the house for you. And how much do you need to move? Well, sweetie, I only need 10,000 to move. Really? Okay. Now, this is where you're getting ready to combine one other creative finance strategy with wholesaling. Okay, you're gonna put them together. The two gonna go together. We're gonna go together. Okay. Now, what you're gonna do is say, well, Miss Susie, do you owe a mortgage on the house? No. Miss Susie owns the house free and clear. Since she owns it free and clear, there are a lot of things that we can do for Miss Susie to make sure she's getting a check and to make sure that your buyer is happy too. You might have a buyer who only wants to put a little bit down. Maybe they don't want to do a whole lot of work. Miss Susie's house doesn't need a whole lot of work, but needs too much for you to make a decent, needs too much for you to give Miss Susie her money and for you to get something on the wholesale deal. Okay. So what you're going to do is what we call seller finance. Oh, Delisa, you can't seller finance that? Yes, I can. Absolutely, I can. Because, well, what about my assignment fee? That's between you and the buyer. That's got nothing to do with Miss Susie. Watch, listen, and learn. First, Miss Susie has a house and she wants to sell it for $75,000. She owns it free and clear, but is it worth $75,000? Yes. Or say she even no, I'm sorry, say she wanted 100,000, but the house is only worth 150. Yeah, hear what I'm saying? The house is only worth 150. You have to understand what we mean by cash on cash return. I'm about to show you how the person who buys this house from you is going to assign it to you, and they're only going to come up with $15,000. So they're looking to make back their $15,000. Then they're going to put maybe 40,000. Say you just need 40,000. Just need the kitchen updated and some paint. Everything else is cosmetic because Miss Susie been living in the house for a while. So for $40,000 and 15, that's 55,000. So they're all in at 55,000 versus being in at 140,000. So they've only come out of their pocket with 55,000. Why? Because they're going to give Miss Susie the 5,000 that she wanted down, or vice versa. Miss Susie might get the 10,000 and you might get the 5, or you might get the 10 and Miss Susie get the 5. And then Miss Susie's going to get a payment every month after 90 days. Payments don't start for 90 days. This is how you negotiate the deal. So now that the payment doesn't start for 90 days, that means John buys his house. He hands the attorney a check for $15,000 plus whatever he costs to sign up this contract and to file these mortgage papers. So the house is going to go into John's name or his business name. Miss Susie is going to move to North Carolina with her kids with this $10,000 in her check, in her pocket, and you're going to get a check for $5,000. Now, I just turned a deal that wasn't supposed to be a deal into a deal because she wanted too much money for it. So now you pitch it as a seller finance. Hey, Miss Susie, if we seller finances, you'll get something down, and then every month you're going to get cash. You won't have to worry about the taxes, the repairs, the maintenance, the tenants, none of that. Really? Yes. And you'll get a check every month for a year. And then after that year, we're going to cash you out. Or after 90 days, 90, 60, 120 days, 180 days, 3, 6, 9 months, whatever, we're going to cash you out. Miss Susie says, okay, I'll do that. Write up all the paperwork. You always write up all the paperwork. Some of y'all be trying not to do that. You got to write up all the paperwork. And once you write up the paperwork, you're going to say, okay, here we go. So Miss Susie's on her way to Charlotte with $10,000 in her pocket. You have a $5,000 wire that hit your account. And your buyer has a house that right now is probably worth 100, but he's going to put 40 into it. And after he puts 40 into it, it's going to be worth about 200,000. So who makes out? Everybody. Because once he refinances this house, once he fixes this house up and he gets ready to sell it, he's going to cash Miss Susie out the rest of the other $90,000 that she wanted. The rest is his money. So he getting all his money back without having to buy everything up front. So yes, you can wholesale a seller finance deal. It's got to make sure your assignment fee is in the down payment. That's number one. Well, actually, that's number two, because the first one I gave y'all is because y'all be holding on. Y'all so stuck on y'all ways about that daggone assignment fee. So I'm gonna give you a bonus one. The second way you can do this is a lease option. The lease, what's a lease option? Rent to own. That's all it is. Rent to own. They just call it lease option now because, you know, all these attorney generals and everybody else got all bent out of shape and caught up in their feelings because y'all was running around here saying y'all was going to rent to own and then y'all rented and never owned it. And then y'all got evicted and people started complaining because they didn't like the way the things was. So now they call it lease with an option to purchase. That's why it's called lease option. Now, please know, like, and understand the fact that when it comes to lease options, you guys do have to have two contracts. You don't have just one contract with a lease option. You have two. You have a lease and you have a contract for future purchase. And in the contract for future purchase should have all of the details from your lease. It should reference the details of your lease. How much of your monthly rent payment is going towards the down payment? Or did you put down, with me, you putting the down payment down up front. We're not doing no monthly payments because then you stop paying and I got to evict you and all this other stuff. And that's not how that works. So my down payment is going to be in my assignment fee is going to be in that down payment. That's what I want y'all to know, like, and understand. All right. Y'all get me? Y'all with me? Y'all understand it? Y'all sure? Y'all a little quiet today. Last night y'all was like real out there in the open and busy. Okay. So lease option, lease with an option to purchase is, hey Cam, how you doing? Lease with an option to purchase is the first way. I'm sorry, seller financing was first. We said seller financing first. Number two is lease with an option to purchase. You're going to lease the property to what they call the tenant buyer because they are a tenant on the lease. They are a buyer on the purchase agreement. Okay. So it's the tenant buyer. So the tenant is going to lease the property with an option to purchase. That means they have the first right of refusal after a certain period of time. Don't do it for more than a year. You have yourself hemmed up in court for a long time if you do it for more than a year. Don't do it for more than a year. Okay? Okay? Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have a lease, like a rental agreement, a lease. And it's going to state, hey, the lease is paying me $1,500 a month. I'm taking $500 a month and I'm putting it towards her down payment. If you want to go that route. Or you can say, I'm putting down 10,000 or I'm putting down 15,000. If the person you want 15,000 down, that's what you want. 5,000 is going to go to the wholesaler. 10,000 might go to the current owner of the property. You can cash that check. I'm going to tell you why. Because in your lease agreement, you're going to notice that it says a $10,000 down payment was given per the agreement on the purchase contract, showing that we have to have the purchase agreement reference each other. Those two agreements have to reference each other. So per the lease agreement dated XYZ date, stating for the property, a $10,000 deposit was given. You're only going to mention the 10,000 because the rest of that doesn't go back to you. Or you can say a $15,000 deposit was given. And the $15,000 deposit that was given is non-refundable. and it goes towards the down payment on the future purchase. You have to cash the check or keep the bank statement with the wire, because when they, in a year from now, when they go to purchase this house, they have to prove that they gave you a down payment, so you have to prove it too. So they have to keep their canceled check or a copy of their wire that it came to you. They show that to the bank. Hey, this is my deposit. So say this is how your agreement is going to say, we agreed to sell this house for $200,000 on XYZ date with a $15,000 deposit. So we already know 5,000 is going to the wholesaler, 10,000 is going to the seller. Okay, so the seller, Miss Susie's going to get that 10,000. She's going to be gone. John's going to put somebody in her property. John might put somebody in her property. Oh, I'm sorry. Miss Susie's gonna put somebody in the property. I got y'all all confused. I'm so sorry. That's because it's late. And I don't usually I'm usually asleep by this time or on my way to sleep. So Miss Susie says, okay, I'll do a lease option. You give me 15,000 down. 10,000 will be a deposit. 5,000 is going to Lisa because she found you. Okay, so I'm getting 5,000 as a wholesaler. Miss Susie's getting $10,000 down. Both are non-refundable. I'm going to write up a lease agreement that states the terms of the lease. In that lease agreement, I'm going to state I am not doing any repairs. You are responsible for repairs because you are going to purchase a property. So you're going to do the repairs, you're going to do the maintenance. If you decide to rent it out, you're going to do the tenants. Because that's what lease options are. You rent it out to rent it to somebody else. You don't never live in it. Nobody ever lives in a lease option. Well, they do, but normally no. So now I'm getting $1,500 a month. Miss Susie is getting $1,500 a month. I'm Miss Susie, okay? Just so you guys know. Miss Susie's gonna get $1,500 a month on top of the 10,000 share, the 15,000 that was already put down. So now every month Miss Susie gets 1,500. She has to maintain the property. She has to pay taxes on the property. She has to keep insurance on the property, but she does not have to do repairs because in the lease it says that she's no longer responsible for repairs because this is due to the purchase agreement that's going to go into effect next year. So that's how you do that. Like I said, you have to reference the purchase agreement in the lease and the lease in the purchase agreement. In the purchase agreement, it's going to say, pursuant to the lease dated June 1st, 2024, tenant agrees to purchase this property on this date for this amount with the down payment of that was given at the lease signing dated June 1st, 2024. They have to reference each other so that the law knows what you were doing. That's why a lot of y'all was getting hemmed up when it came to a lot of you were getting really hemmed up when it came down to paperwork. When y'all go to court, if your paperwork is not right, you're not going to win. You are just not going to win. You can call it what you want. You can say what you want. You can do what you want. But you will not win in court if that paperwork is not right. All right, pumpkins? Great. Now, the third one, and then I'm going to be done, is a subject to. Y'all knew I was going there. Subject to is when you have a property, but it has a mortgage. Seller finance, no mortgage. Subject to, mortgage in place. So if there's a mortgage on the property and you are doing a sub-to deal, meaning you are subject to the financing that's already in place. That's what sub-to means. Subject to. You're going to do all this paperwork like a sub-to deal, and you're going to make sure that your assignment fee is in the down payment. That's how y'all do it. So we went over the seller financing. We went over the lease option. We went over the sub two. In all three, the wholesaler's assignment fee is in the down payment. Because a lot of you was like, how do I get paid? It's in the down payment. Now, what's going to make a deal not be a deal and you would have to use one of these three methods? Simple. It all comes down to what the buyer wants, what the buyer is willing to pay, and what the seller wants, the seller's asking price. So if the seller is saying, I can't do it that way, if the seller is saying, I want XYZ dollar amount, like in this case, Miss Susie could have been saying, I want 125,000, but you know the house is only worth 100. Hey, Miss Susie, I can give you 75 in cash now, or you can hold a note for me and I'll pay the 125. But I'll have to make monthly payments. So she's gonna seller finance you for 125, but I want 20,000 down. That's what the wholesaler gonna tell you. But we want 20,000 down. That 10 gonna go to Miss Susie, 10 going to that wholesaler. Trust me, believe me, that's how that's gonna work out. All right. Now, same thing with sub two. Sub two, there's a mortgage in place within a year. The reason why I say if you do lease option, you want a lease option for 2 years with the seller. Between you and the seller, you want a 2-year lease option, okay? Y'all got that? Okay, let me explain to you why. Because after 1 year, that tenant buyer might decide they don't want that house. And if they decide they don't want it, and then you now have another year to lease it out to somebody else and get another $10,000, $20,000 deposit. Because the first one you don't have to get back. It's not refundable. Got you? Hey, Matt. See what I'm saying? That's how you do it. That's how people make. That's why I tell you don't do a lease option for more than a year. Never. I don't do anything more than a year. That's that. Now, did I confuse you? Probably. Do you know what you're doing? Probably not. But this is when you know that deal. This is what you do when you have deals that normally would not close in a traditional wholesaling manner. You are to figure out where you can put it. And I'm explaining this to you the same way I used to explain this to my collectors when I was working in collections and I was training collectors. You have buckets, okay? And you have a handful of rocks and you got 6 buckets. Those 6 buckets, you're going to drop one of those rocks in one of those buckets. So there's no such thing as a deal that can't close. Now, the first bucket is, of course, can I wholesale this deal? Yes, drop it in there. Well, I can't wholesale this deal. Can I lease up? Can I seller finance it? Yeah, drop it in there. Well, I can't lease option it. I can't sell it because they want too much. I can't do a seller finance because there's a mortgage in place. Can I do sub 2? Drop it in that bucket instead. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you're going to do 3. Well, I can sub to the deal. John can sub to the deal from Miss Susie. And then he can lease it with an option to purchase to somebody else. Because it's his. Technically, he can do what he wants with it. So you guys have to understand there's always going to be a way for you to close the deal once you have a deal under contract. You just have to figure out where it's going to go. Even when you're doing lease options, or even when you're flipping a house, when you are flipping a house, There are going to be buyers who will say, hey, ask them if they'll do a seller finance. Ask them if they'll hold a mortgage, or ask them if they'll allow me to put 10,000 down and make the mortgage payment every month until we finish the renovation. Yeah, y'all see, y'all gotta start thinking outside the box. Every deal is not gonna close. Every deal is not a good deal, but you can put a deal in a different bucket at all times. You can always find a deal and put it in a bucket. All right. So recap. Number one, stop holding on to your ideal of how much money you should be making on every single deal. I have a minimum of $5,000. So if I got 4 or 5 deals closing in a 1 month, guess what? Now I have $20,000 to $25,000. Hmm. 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 Yeah. So if I close one deal for 20, or I close four deals for 5,000 a piece, I'm still making the same 20 grand. Yeah, I'm doing less work, but I'm still making the same 20 grand. Tomorrow we're gonna talk about some systems. I don't know what time I'm going live tomorrow because, like I said, we had a lot of things happen in our family yesterday without going into it and telling everybody business. But we had a lot of things going on in our family yesterday, and I ended up coming on later today. Today's been a little rough, so I'm coming on tomorrow. I got a lot of appointments, so might not be till Friday, but I will be back on here before I take my vacation, because the sister is tired. Y'all see these bags? See? Y'all see it? I'm tired, so I got to get ready to take some time off, just so I can relax. So don't forget, the Get Wired Wholesaling Real Estate Boot Camp is out there. We are talking 4 weeks, 4 whole weeks. Twice a week, you and I will meet and we will talk real estate. If you did not get in yesterday before 11:59 p.m., you missed the best sale. This boot camp is normally $497. Believe it. Boot camp is normally $497. Yesterday it was on sale for $97. Today, still on sale, but it's $197. I told you the price is going up. It went up at 11:59 p.m. last night. It's only going to be 197 until 11:59 p.m. on Friday. So you got the rest of today, all of tomorrow, and all of Friday, because at 11:59 Friday night, Eastern Standard Time, for those of you who are in California, Nevada, and the Midwest, Colorado, and wherever, Central Mountain and West Coast Pacific. So we'll be doing it. So what we're going to be doing, what do we do for these 4 weeks? We're going to learn how to talk to sellers. We're going to learn where they live. We're going to learn how to pitch ourselves to sellers. We're going to learn how to build a buyer's list of qualified buyers. We're going to learn how to pick our niche. We're going to learn how to virtual wholesale land. We're going to talk a little bit about mobile homes, just so you can understand why I don't mess with it, but you might want to. I heard about a young lady today. She was started out doing mobile homes. Now she buying mobile home parks. So that's out there too. So let me know what you guys want to do. So tonight, like I said, we're going to be talking about how to wholesale land. We're going to pick your market, show you how to choose your market. I'm going to give you my skip tracer, my systems, and we're going to help you put your systems in place as well. So this is not just a you sit and listen to me talk for 4 hours for 4 weeks. No, for 4 weeks, you're going to be learning, earning, and doing. Okay, so if you can earn it, learn it, and do it, that's what we're going to do. And you're going to master the arts of wholesaling real estate. We're going to talk in detail about the three items I went over today: the seller financing, the lease options, and the subject to. Let's talk about those in detail today. Not today, during the 4 weeks. and we're going to be able to, we're going to get all of that stuff together. We're going to get all of that together. So join the boot camp. Boot camp is lit. It's not going to be like any other boot camp I did before, and I don't do them as often as I used to. Last year, not even last year, but the year before, I did 3 boot camps in 6 months. I'm not doing that. This will be, I think this is my first boot camp that I'm doing all year. So that's what it's going to be. So the Get Wired Wholesaling Real Estate Boot Camp will start October 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will meet every Wednesday and every Sunday for however long it takes for y'all to get it. Because I want y'all to get it, and I want y'all to come in here, and I want y'all to start killing the game and making a lot of money. Because you can make a lot of money wholesaling real estate. All right, pumpkins. All right. I got to get ready to get out of here because I have so much to do. And I got to call my auntie and tell her I'm sorry I didn't come visit her today. Because I was tied up doing some other things. But I love and like you a lot. Remember what I always tell you. You can choose to be anything you want in this world. I just hope you choose to be kind. Because at some point in your life, somebody has been kind to you. And it makes you really cool to pay kindness forward. But if we all did it, make the world a much better place. Also, remember, if this is your first time, don't let it be your last time. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back and supporting me. I appreciate it. We are going to end 2024 with 6 figures. Let's go. All right. Okay, guys. Love and like you a lot. Talk to you later. Hasta la bye bye.